The Girl in the Yellow Dress, written by Danielle Alexander. There once was a girl named Melanie who wore a yellow dress everywhere she went. The yellow dress was the only one she had. Sometimes kids made fun of her for wearing it, but Melanie didn't care because the dress made her feel safe. It was hard for Melanie to feel safe at home. She liked to be at school best. At school, there was always enough food to eat. Sometimes at home, there wouldn't be anything for dinner for Melanie and her little brothers and sisters. On those nights, Melanie's mom looked sad and worried. Melanie often wondered what it would be like to have a big dinner that was all to herself, just like the lunch at school. Sometimes, when everyone else was on the playground after lunch, Melanie stayed inside to take food out of the trash. She would hide it in the pockets of her yellow dress and take it home for her family. Sometimes, Melanie would even find enough food to share with her family for dinner and have enough left over for breakfast for the next day. Those days were her favorite because then she wasn't hungry during class. The days when she couldn't find enough were the worst. It was hard to pay attention in class. Melanie's teacher would call home and complain that Melanie wasn't paying attention. Sometimes she even sent Melanie to the principal's office. Melanie would put her hands into the pockets of her yellow dress on those days and wish hard that food would appear. One day, Melanie was digging in the trash bin, tucking the apple she found into the pockets of her yellow dress. She looked up, and there stood Principal P. Principal P didn't look too pleased to see Melanie looking in the trash. "Come to my office, please," Principal P said. Melanie followed her, her hands shaking in the pockets of her yellow dress. "Why were you taking food from the trash, Melanie?" Principal P asked. Melanie shrugged. "For my family, for dinner," she answered, not able to lie to the formidable Principal P. Principal P looked sad at first, then very angry. "Melanie, I'm going to fix this." Melanie was surprised, but happy to not be in trouble. She hurried away from Principal P's office, happy that she got to keep the food hidden away in the pockets of her yellow dress. The next day, Principal P called her out of class. "Uh-oh," Melanie thought. There was a brown paper bag on the desk in Principal P's office. "This is for you to take home today. There will be another one tomorrow," said Principal P. Melanie looked inside the bag. It was filled with apples, crackers, peanut butter, string cheese, and more food than Melanie could usually ever find in the trash. Melanie looked at Principal P in surprise. "No kid should have to be hungry," Principal P said firmly to the girl in the yellow dress. With the girl in the yellow dress on her mind, Principal P met with some of her friends, including her very special friend Mary Kay. They started making sack suppers for other boys and girls like Melanie. Principal P never forgot to bring Melanie her dinner, though, not even once. Soon, Principal P and Mary Kay were making sack suppers with their friends for hundreds of children. Still, she kept her eye on Melanie. She was happy to see that Melanie was doing better in school and had stopped taking food out of the trash. A few years later, Principal P and Mary Kay were making sack suppers for thousands of students. They call their work Kids' Food Basket. Melanie went on to middle school and then to high school. Principal P lost track of her, but to this day, Principal P has never ever forgotten the girl in the yellow dress. Thanks to that girl in the yellow dress, boys and girls all over the city have their own sack suppers to take home. None of them ever have to feel hungry. Not ever. Dear volunteers, food baskets are important to me because I know I'll have food when I get home from school. My favorite part of a sack supper is the soft sandwich. My sack helps me do homework. My sack supper makes me feel real smart. I'm thankful for the volunteers who make sack supper. Sincerely, Solana.